I had to make this because this is what everybody makes their freaking money off of. It's always talking about women and all of that stuff. And I don't know why. Apparently that's everything. If you want to become famous, and I do. Well, actually, I don't. I just want to sell things like books. But I got this book. This is apparently a manga from Japan. Quite interesting, I must say. And the imagery in it is quite interesting as well. But hey, I guess that's where Japanese e-girls came from. Was from here. There's something else in here as well, though. But anyways, so I always see these podcasts and everything of like people, bashing. Which, I mean, obviously they all make money off of it, but it's just, wild to me how many people get belittled because they choose to sell their nudes online versus going and doing whatever it was that they went to college for or had a job for and everything. And I really don't see the problem with that, because if you sit there and you say that, like, oh, well, women are born with their value and men have to earn their value and everything. Okay, that's cool and all. So men go and earn their value, and then guess what they do? They place value on a woman by giving the woman money to sell their stuff online. So if you have a problem with women being born with a value and not having to work for what they have, then you should probably stop giving them things. But yet you have all of these people who complain about that, and then they're the same people who, for one, promote them, two, have sex with them, and three, spend money on them. So I mean, you're in turn giving them the value that you bash them for having. So I mean, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And to treat someone like crap because of that doesn't make any sense either. And if you have such a problem, like, they'll controversial figures like Andrew Tate and his gang don't make any sense with the stuff that they say, because their whole thing is like, oh yeah, I respect women who keep their mouth shut and don't say anything, but at the same time of that, you're obviously looking for women who will do that. So why do you bash women who don't want to do that and find men who it's basically like, why would, like, there are submissive women that, like Andrew Tate obviously wants, there are submissive men. There are men out there who do not, who find strong-minded, independent woman leaders as attractive, in the same way that a woman finds strong men leaders attractive. And with that being said, that doesn't mean that every man who wants a strong-minded woman is some pushover person who can't defend themselves or speak on things or whatever, you know. Because everybody is their own person and has their own individual strengths and paths. So I don't, that doesn't make any sense to say there are no absolutes when it comes to interpretation and story and how we perceive things and philosophical type matters. There's no absolutes in that. And so essentially the whole OnlyFans was not even designed for sex. It was, if you actually read the what their description is and everything, it's about, you know, creating entertainment promotion, like getting people out there, you know, like musicians and stuff like that. But as it turns out, our society is very sexual based, and so it very quickly turned into a porn site. And that says a lot about America. Yes, it does, but that does not mean that America is some terrible country. That just means that there's a lot of horny people living in the United States, apparently. And with that being said, there's also a massive market for it. So if people want to do that to make money, you know, that's their choice. And if you don't like it, don't buy it, don't watch it, and go on your separate ways. There's no reason to bash someone for what they do. Here's what I found now. This is a Magna from Japan, Soul Eater. I'm currently trying to read this. It's actually a really good book. And from what I've gotten so far, it's about these witch or these soul eater women, and their swords are men, and it, like the men are like submissive men, like run around with them and turn into their weapon. It's very interesting. I don't know how I just saw the cover and I was like, oh, okay, this looks kind of cool. And then I started reading it, and that's basically what I've gathered so far. Unless I've misinterpreted, it. But this guy in here, I'm pretty sure turns into her scythe. You know, so I don't really get the whole bashing thing, and probably never will. But I also have this book here. I don't know, essays in feminist philosophy, which I was doing on my previous podcast. I was reading from it, and I would argue that that many of these ideologies that are put out there about how I haven't really got to set up this camera a lot better. I'm still working on the setup and everything. I had a better setup, but you know, things happen, and now I'm trying here. It's still very low, but yeah. So obviously, it's all, you know, a big marketing tool and everything for people to make money. So they just like get on there and they bash each other. But there's a lot of stuff that's said that people take serious, and you know, I tell certain stories of like stuff that I've seen where like men will ask a girl, oh, are you gonna, oh, you just want to be friends right now? Are you going to sleep with somebody else? And then they say yes, and the guy like freaks out, starts throwing stuff and everything. And you know, if the girl turned around after that and said, oh, okay, yeah, I won't sleep with anybody else, they're not doing so because they love you and want to be with you. They're doing so because they fear you. And so then that means that when something happens or comes up, they're going to throw you under the bus. So you don't actually have loyalty from that person. And So really, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. And so everybody's so concerned with like forcing people to be with them. Like, I wouldn't want anybody to be with me if they did not want to actually be with me, because then you're like, you don't actually love me. And so when something happens, you're not going to be there for me. You're going to throw me under the bus, and I'm going to be screwed, and I'm going to be hurt. And I'm like, oh, why didn't she care about me? Well, she never cared about me. What do you mean? Like I made up a whole delusional world. And so, yeah. So, I mean, if you can get your way on something by selling things online that easily, I mean, and you are okay with doing it, then do it. And I would argue, like, everybody's like, oh, well, it devalues a woman with the more people that she sleeps with, but the more people that a man sleeps with, it raises their value. That does, like, time out for a second, because the last time I checked, no matter how precious a diamond looks, if no one's buying a diamond, then it's not valuable. And then there's always that, they always say like, oh, well, you know, rarity is what makes value. No, it's not. Rarity and worth are what makes value. So so for instance, if you noticed in the United States, you don't really see, let me come up with a better example. Okay, well, I can't think of something off the top of my head. But if something's rare, that does not innately mean that it's valuable. So, for instance, let's say a certain species of bird starts to go extinct, okay? And so therefore their feces is, you know, less. So like, say birds start to go extinct a little, and then now their feces is not in a mass produce like it was before. So, you know, you don't have to worry about a bird shitting on your window. Okay, that shit is now more rare. That does not mean that people want to buy bird shit from this bird that's going extinct. People would want to buy the bird, but people would not care to have the shit of the bird. See the point? You know, so it doesn't, so that doesn't make any sense whatsoever to say that. So I would argue that that just as, you know, a man can get multiple sexual partners, a woman who can get multiple sexual partners is also of higher value, because if she has many options of men that she could be with, and has shown that she's with, that if she decides, oh, okay, hey, yeah, I could be with all these other men, but I'm going to choose to be with you, that, and then she stops seeing and talking to all these other men who are always trying to get that from her, and she chooses to have that loyalty to you, and y'all discuss whatever type of relationship you want to have, because like, if people want to have an open poly type relationship and they discuss their terms with each other and they follow their terms with each other and make it work, cool, that's on them. And if it fails, cool, that's on them. For the same reason that people go into a monogamy relationship and they're like, okay, well, you can't sleep with anybody, you can't talk to anybody, can't do this, can't do that. Sometimes that fails, and sometimes it works. So, you know, if that's, you know, if you meet someone, whether they're a male or a female, and whether you're a male or a female, and you don't like the relationship standards that they have, or you don't like something they're doing, there's no reason to sit there and belittle them. You could just walk away. You can just say, okay, hey, I don't agree with your relationship philosophy, so I'm going to part ways. Instead, you have a lot of people who get upset and try to force. They're like, "Oh, why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? You need to be with me, and you can't do that. You're a hoe." Like, well, if you have such a negative outtake on the person, then just leave. No one was forcing you to communicate with them. You chose that. You're choosing to be around them, and then you're making yourself upset and trying to hurt them because they're not doing what you want them to do, and then leave. Like what? Like I don't. I'm not seeing where the problem is here because they are a human being and they can live their own life. A woman does not have to submit to a man, and a man doesn't have to submit to a woman, and neither one of them have the authority to make someone try and submit to them. Now, if we were living in the times where, where we were fighting lions, tigers, and bears, you would have women who, yes, would be like, oh, okay, yes, I'm going to submit to any man that can protect me from the wild. But guess what? We don't live like that anymore. Yes, did men create this great society on the backs of men? Yes. And guess what? Now you have a civilization that unless a freaking nuclear reaction happens across the whole wide world, we will never go back to that. We just have way too much technology and resources and such a setup that even an apocalyptic event, like women could still care for their own with the technologies and stuff that we had, especially with like guns and things like that. So, we will probably never go back to the way things were, to where you have women who are like, okay, well, I can't do anything without a man, because we're intelligent enough now of a species to where we can work around not having physical strength. In the times where you didn't have guns, obviously, yeah, you would kind of need someone who was very strong to go and fight a war. Because, for instance, if a bear attacks you and you don't have any weapons, I obviously, would not be the greatest person to be trying to go and fight a bear. But give me a gun and I most definitely will kill that bear. Sorry, I just like embarrassed myself on my muscles. Holy crap. But I mean, like, so that doesn't make any sense. And I was in the Marine Corps. So, I'm not gonna sit here and say that like I'm the strongest person in the world, but if someone attacked me, I most definitely could defend myself, especially if I, have weapons in my home, which I do. So, like I don't I'm missing the point, and then I like to use myself as an example on that because I actually rather like women who have their own opinions on things. And you see all these men, they're like, well, men don't want a woman with opinions, and I disagree with that. I definitely want a woman with an opinion, and I want us to work in our relationships together and navigate our lives together. And I have to understand that they're a human being with flaws, and I'm a human being with flaws. And if I love them, I have to accept them and their flaws. And if their flaws detrimentally affect me, I would discuss that with them. And if they weren't willing to work with me to make me feel better about those flaws, then I would start to question if they actually really loved me. And so for instance, I personally do not mind if I'm in a relationship and my female partner has intercourse with other people. And that may be because of my detrimental effects of the Marine Corps. Who knows? I don't really care. But I did see one woman on a podcast with her OnlyFans thing, said that it was her military ex who got her into porn, that they were like really wild and stuff. And I was like, yeah, actually, that's true because, yeah, when they go overseas, who do you think they're having sex with? Oh, the female in the barracks, probably, like the one or two females that are in the squadron. So yeah, they're passing around the same girl. So yeah, I'm sure that that actually happened. Um, I agree with, or I could completely understand that her military husband got her into her OnlyFans. And with that, also being said, so you do have men that want to be with those types of women, and you can't say that their relationships would necessarily fail, because there's plenty of men who are in those types of relationships. And but on that note, I would also say that yes, it does make it easier for you to move on when you are less scared to have sex with somebody else. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to just up and leave someone when things get tough. Uh, but you do have people who would be like, because I saw Andrew Tate say that was his reasoning, and it is a good reason, but that goes back to you having an insecurity, because your whole thing is saying like, oh, I have women who would leave me if they didn't have a fear of having sex with new people. So basically, you're wanting a virgin because when they have sex with you, they're going to have that attachment, and they're going to have an insecurity of having sex with other men. So that keeps them with you, even though they might not actually want to be with you. So again, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because you don't have true loyalty. You just have someone who's scared to move on. And you just stated that. So, again, you're back to the same problem. And I'm trying to think of any other attacks on women that were said. So I know that Martin guy, the one who's like, Nington books. That shit was funny. Well, anyways, he said to one girl, she had a bachelor's degree in philosophy, and he was like, oh, you could have been a philosopher, but you chose to sell your nudes online. Okay, guess what? She's making more money selling her nudes online than she would have with her philosophy degree. Unfortunately, that sometimes is just how it is. And then her cards played better with having philosophy. But her cards played better for her. She had an opportunity, and she took it. And okay, it wasn't for philosophy. Oh well, she's still making money, and she's still going to be able to provide. All right, and if her kids are emotionally damaged from in the future, I would hide it better, or explain to your kids like the reality of the world, because everybody has sex. So I don't. So if someone's bashing me like, oh, I saw your mom's nudes online, okay, congratulations. I have to show. I have to show 10 books now, because, like you said, so I have the Action Bible. I don't know if this counts as a book, but it does to me, And then I have Star Wars Convergence. I don't have the cover on it though. This is a novel. Okay, so I do read. I have the Zelda Ocarina of Time, although it's a Magna. And then I have Zelda Four Swords, again, a Magna. Let's see what else I have. And then I have this, which is also a Magna, very interesting Magna. I have no idea what the base of it is. I haven't read it yet, but it looks cool. A lot of Magnas, I sure realized. I have other books as well. Oh, those are in storage. I moved them. So, because I also go to college. So, I have an ancient Egypt book, which is a primary source that had multiple writings from Egypt that we dug up apparently. And then I had The Philosophy of Life and Death, which I've read on here on one of my previous podcasts. And then I have two Albert Einstein books. This is one of them. And then I have another one on his quantum physics. So that's, 4 right there of actual books. And then not to mention that my Hypatia book, which is another one. So that's 4. So that's 5. And then my Soul Eater book, which may or may not be considered. What else have I read? Also read the Bible. That counts as a book. Actually, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all count as their own separate books. So I did not read anything that was whatever you want to call it, because each book was something different. I know one of them was like the Fire and Ice, so the Game of Thrones type stuff. I didn't read any of those because that's what that girl's reply was, the Game of Thrones series. I did read all of the Harry Potter books, so that's like 8 books. Actually, I take that back. I did not read the Deathly Hallows. I read all the way. Actually, I don't even think. No, I did read the Half-Blood Prince. I'll take that back. So yeah, I read. That's 6. Yeah, 6 Harry Potter books. So I've definitely read. I also read The Giver, which I think everybody's read. That went to public schools in the United States, which I think was an absolutely crap book, to be honest. The story made absolutely no freaking sense to me. Like, I understood like what its philosophical purpose was, but still the story was just so stagnant and dull to me that it was a terrible book. And there was much better ways to portray what they were doing, and then I just think it was terrible and anticlimactic and very poor to follow. Yeah, so that's where we're at, and I don't think that the OnlyFans world is destroying. Yeah, you can feel sorry for men who pave roads and all of this stuff, and because have these people, and like they're just using you because they're making money off of saying that, and then like you have one guy, I forgot what his name was, but he gets on podcasts talking about, oh well, I feel sorry for these construction worker men doing all this stuff, building the roads. Then OnlyFans models are making so much more money, and then he gets on a podcast, and girl says she moves to America and trying to get some kind of degree in marketing or something, I think she said, and and he gets her number and probably goes to sleep with her. So apparently you don't feel too sorry, and apparently you don't care about actually having a virgin, because what I've noticed is all these people that talk about all these virgins and everything, they want to have sex with those girls. So you're a body on them, but you don't want to marry them. So you want all these girls to stay virgins, so when you meet them, they're a virgin, you have sex with them, you add a body, and then now they go off to another, and now they're seconds to another man. So in all actuality, you don't care if a woman's a virgin, you just want her to be a virgin when you meet her. Well, unfortunately for you, there's not enough people in the world for that to work out right. And then they get on there and they say, well, women are only dating 20% of the men, and that's why you say, oh, all men ain't shit or whatever. And then say, well, y'all are all dating the same 20% men because you won't settle for the lesser men. Okay, well then you just backed up the whole statement that you want them to be virgins when they meet you, not because you want them to spread their legs when they're there for you, but not when they're there for other people. The whole thing, it just doesn't make any sense on this male perspective side, and you should just let people do what they want to do. And if you have a problem with it, then remove yourself from their life instead of bashing them. And if you have such a problem with women having a value given to them, then stop giving them that value. You're the one putting them on a podcast and promoting their OnlyFans to all of these people in the world who are buying their OnlyFans. And guess what? All those construction workers and everything that are paving all of these roads, guess what they do? They pour their money into women. Wow, congratulations. You just made them more valuable. I mean, because that's the basis of value is, do people want you? If people don't want you, then you're not valuable. So yeah, women are valuable and men aren't valuable. I mean, because people aren't wanting men like they want women. People only want men to create constructs so then they can give it to the women. I mean, so the women are the ultimate value, because the men are doing all of this stuff so that they can get want women to want to come to them, because they're like, hey, look at all this stuff I can give you. So you're doing it. So you're creating an empire so that you could bring a woman in. So the woman's the most valuable thing of it all, because you're doing everything so that you can have women. I mean, that's the basis of that I'm getting at from all of these people. So doesn't really matter. So the whole basis of like my title, OnlyFans, good or bad, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad. That's the point, because everybody is their own individual person. And if you don't like what they do, then don't be a part of their life and don't promote them. And bashing them online is promoting them, because someone's going to see it and they're not going to agree with you. And then they're going to go to that person's page and they're going to pay money to them. So if you actually had a legitimate problem with these people, you wouldn't be buying into it. So it's all a scam anyway. It's just everybody's just trying to make money. That's all it is. So yeah. Anyways, that's my opinion. Sorry to go off of 31 minutes about this. Anyways, that's it. Thank you for watching. And now I have to, can't even see my string because I set the camera up. It's right smack in the middle. But yes, we appreciate. And check out harpersrestoringhearts.com. It's a nonprofit organization that I have started where I live in very rural area. So the fact that I'm a liberal person actually doesn't make really any sense for what I grew up in. But all the cities like Nashville or Louisville get all of the grants, because they're like, oh, we help like 80,000 people, but all those 80,000 people live in their city, and they don't ever come and help the Western Kentucky, Western Tennessee area. And so we're just out here stuck on our own, and veterans need transportation to their VA appointments who like either can't drive themselves or don't have vehicles, don't have license, or their legs are blown off or something. And then we're also trying to help people with autism. So check out my bio, and I have links to the website where you can buy stuff from the store, and all the money goes to that, to assisting them. And then we have and then there's a donations link as well. So please look into that, help us out. And Merry freaking Christmas as well.